what's your expectation from them? आप लोग यहाँ क्यों आए? One she has forced you. Outside of that, can anybody share? Can you start? You want to know what's happening here? Okay, that's a good place to hear. How about you? Anybody else?
When I entered in the office, she told me that your session is going on. So why not you join? What do you see? I thought, okay, देखते क्या है?
Okay, curiosity है.
Curiosity. That is
okay. You guys want to just sit in the front? Anybody else? Why are you here? She has forced you. That portion I got. Outside of that, more than that, why are you here?
She has not forced. She just requested.
Fair enough. I'm just joking, Monica. Don't take it the wrong way.
No, I'm not taking it.
But what else? किसी को पता है आज यहाँ किस चीज का सेशन है, क्यों है, what you might get, why you might get, anything?
It is told it is something about mental health and work-life balance kind of things we discussed.
Okay, fair enough. That's a brilliant place to be. Anybody else? किसी को कुछ और? Anything else? So let's start with what is mental health. And I am not going to talk. I will just change the slides. You guys will be talking. It's that kind of session, which is why I asked everybody, what do you expect from this session? So what is mental health?
I think physical one is outer thing that we can see somebody strong, not getting ill, and I guess mental is could be related to somebody is happy, somebody is active, and positive, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. That's a very good start. What else? What is mental health? So he is saying
this is a subconscious mind. What is going on in our mind all the time?
Sure. So mental health is emotions on one side. Mental health is the subconscious mind, or what's going on inside is another one. What else?
Negative thoughts, positive thoughts.
Sure. So your emotions in some way, shape or form. What else? Great. That's the right answer, by the way. That mental health is about what kind of emotions do you have, but not just what kind of emotions you have. Rather, it is more about how do you take control of those emotions. Okay. And when I say take control of those emotions, I am not talking about how do you change your emotions. Okay. Dukhi hona, if you are sad, you are sad. If you are lonely, you are lonely. If you have stress of something, you have stress. Okay. Not talking about how do you change your emotions. Rather, we are talking about how do you manage your emotions. How do you cope with your emotions? And then in the view of all of that, how do you keep yourself productive? How do you keep yourself efficient? And how do you do your normal life as you move on? Okay. Anybody else? What is mental health?
I think when you go beyond to this emotion, then will be something anger kind of emotion.
So anger would be an emotion.
That is
Anger would be an emotion. So how we look at mental health is, of course, you have given two aspects of it. One is your emotions. Second is your subconscious mind. There is a third view of mental health where people start talking about mental disorders. Okay, and mental disorders also can be genital or biological, or sometimes they can even be chemical. Okay, जैसे some people talk about इसको bipolar है और इसको bipolar हो गया. See, you can't develop bipolar. You are born bipolar or you are not born bipolar. Okay. At the same time, there are other mental disorders that you may develop. Okay. Then there is another category within mental health that is called as learning disability. But we wouldn't touch much of learning disability here. We wouldn't even talk about mental health disorders here. We may touch a little bit about the chemical disorders and what could you do. But more, we are going to talk about taking control of and managing your emotions. Okay, and in some ways, partly even looking at how do you take control of your subconscious mind in some terms of your thought, in terms of your feelings, in terms of everything that you do. Okay. First, let me start off with this. Self-help, taking care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish. It is essential. Okay. Number one. Number two, self-care is not unnecessary. It is essential. So, ना तो self-care selfish होता है और ना ही unnecessary होता है. It is needed in everybody's life. I don't care if you are, Prime Minister Modi, or if you are, the poorest person on the street. Self-care. अपनी circumstances, अपनी situation, अपनी life के हिसाब से किसको क्या चाहिए, कितना चाहिए, of course, that part is important. But self-care is needed, important, essential for everybody. The earlier you start to appreciate that, the more value you will be able to get in your life. It is essential. The question is how, why, where, और हमारे से पहले वाली जनरेशन तो नहीं करती थी, right? That's usually the question that we all ask, right? Especially the younger ones here. हमसे पहले वाली जनरेशन, मेरी जनरेशन तो नहीं करती थी. मेरी जनरेशन में तो मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज में घर पे जाके बोलो पापा 2 थप्पड़ मारेंगे अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा. So what has changed? सबसे पहले तो we all are living in a world where we face this. Long working hours, stressful work environment, higher expectations, lack of boundaries. Now, lack of boundaries will mean there is nothing called as work and there is nothing called as home. How many people go home and they end up doing some work? 30-40% people. Let me reverse it. How many people are in office and have to care about home? Care about meaning they have to do something, they have to pay a bill, whatever. In whatever way, shape or form. How many people are in office and they have to care for home? See, that's a extremely interesting mechanism, right?
Yes.
There were 30% people who said that when they are home, they end up working. There are 60 to 70% people who say when they are in office, they have to care about home. So work-life balance is not just one way. Work-life balance in that sense is essentially creating that balanced environment for you all. Across everything, right? So, it's not just about the long hours. It is not just about the stressful work environment, the high expectations, the lack of boundaries. I think more than all of that, what we suffer from is lack of support. Okay? When we were growing up, people used to live in more, let me not even say joint families, but bigger families. Now we live in very secluded nuclear environment, which essentially means बिजली का बिल, पानी का बिल, गैस का बिल, phone का bill, cell phone का bill, cable का bill, and I can keep going on and on and on. गाड़ी की EMI, इसकी EMI, TV की EMI, whatever. Everything. And ये तो अभी मैं सिर्फ bills की बात कर रहा हूँ. उनकी repairs, उनकी management, maid की management, खाना बनने की management, order करने की management. Yeah, you have built this great world where there is digital for everything. You don't need to step out to order groceries. You can actually sit in your office and order groceries. Fantastic. But you just brought your home into your office and your office into your home. Yeah, you can sit at home and because you have a laptop, you can do everything. But it just means that there is no boundaries anywhere. And you have no support anywhere. How many of you live in families with more than 5 people? 1%, 2%, 3%. So quite a bit of people. More than 5 people? Joint families, anyone?
Yeah.
Still people, I think in this northwest and west part of Delhi,
Yeah.
there is still quite a bit of joint family structure that is there.
If you go to south, there are chances to have.
Fair enough. I think also even in this area, how a lot of joint families have changed is they are different floors, or they are living in the same area, but then they are separate households.
Separate kitchen at least.
Separate
Sure.
floors.
Separate
flats.
floor, separate kitchen, depending on how your house is structured. Sometimes it's not even separate kitchen, but it's separate food.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't even need to have a separate place.
Sure.
So let me ask a question. How many of you have ever worked on your mental health? Anyone? So what do you do?
Some kind of meditation.
Some kind of meditation. Sure. How about you?
Meditation,
Some kind of meditation.
worship, and other things.
Sure. Religion is a hugely important part of mental health, by the way. People don't understand, people don't realize, specifically atheists think that it is pointless, useless, but it is a hugely important part of mental health. Anybody else? Anything for mental health?
पूजा
Anji?
पूजा करना
Puja karna.
I also do yoga, but it's not continuous.
Yoga is definitely mental health. There is more to yoga in terms of mental versus physical health. So, what is working on your mental health? अपनी mental health पे काम करने का मतलब क्या?
Giving time to ourselves.
Yes.
Time to yourself, which is self-care in some ways. What more?
Talking to ourselves.
Talking to yourself. What else?
Relaxation of mind.
Relaxation of mind. Extremely, extremely important. What are the challenges you face when you are looking at working on your mental health?
Struggles.
Sorry?
Concentration.
Concentration. Okay.
Time.
Time. What else? And hence starts the struggle of mental health. We think we should do it up to enough, normalized conversations we have that you don't need to worry about talking about it. You can say I'm feeling work-life disbalance. You can say I'm feeling stressed. You can say I'm feeling burnout and whatever. You can say my office has toxic environment and whatever 20 other adjectives that are going around in that. We can all say that. So normalized behavior. Acha, so that's the boss.
Yes, he's the boss.
Okay. So now let me ask, what are the challenges you face while you are working on your mental health? Time नहीं मिलता, important नहीं लगता, बाकी चीजें priority ले लेती हैं. Again, आप क्या बोल रहे हो? Work-life balance की बात करने आए हो and you are opening up a third Pandora's box for me. How will that work? I get that. Let me ask this. What if I say that somehow you are currently today working on yourself? Let me change that. My assertion is more than 16 hours a day, every day, each one of you is working on your mental health. What if I say that? Let's do a thought experiment. Thought experiment, समझते हैं?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come up with a thought. We will see if it is valid or if it is invalid or if. So it's a thought experiment. More than 16 hours a day, all that you are doing is mental health. Every action in your life, every decision in your life is mental health. What will you say if I say that?
I don't think.
Sorry?
I don't think so. I'm not being able to,
I get that. I get that. थोड़ा सा और इसके deep में जाते हैं. How do you choose what to do?
How do I choose
What to do?
Of course, there are three major things. First is the finance management, and the second is the family, and the third is what we call personal health.
See, हम जब mental health की बात करते हैं, तो we have decomposed loneliness, मतलब दुख, अकेलापन, तनाव. Mental health is about reducing these three elements: sadness, loneliness, stress. And mental health is about increasing these two elements: happiness, peace of mind, खुशी, मन की शांति. That's it. Okay. Now, let me ask the question again. More than 16 hours a day, every day, everything that you do, the time that you sleep, the food that you eat, the people that you meet, the party that you go to, outside of some chores that you have to do, and some portion of your academics or your work life or whatever that you have to do, more than 16 hours a day, every day, all that you do is mental health. I'm not talking about Saturday, Sunday, over the weekend, when you go party, when you go meditation, when you go yoga, when you listen to music, when you... No. I'm saying more than 16 hours a day, every day, all that you do is mental health. Every action and every decision making. Okay? Every action in your life and every decision making in your life is driven primarily by mental health. The challenge is we still don't have it under control. So let's first talk about what has worsened the situation. For me, mental health is one of the fastest growing pandemic. If somebody is to ask me, I will put mental health a little bit before I will bring COVID. Okay? And let me talk about why I say that. See, COVID has a very unique phenomenon. It's a virus. A virus means, based on the laws of nature, a virus will only impact 8 to 10% of any species. It's something that scientifically is not talked about much, but you know, everybody has DNA has HLA sequencing. HLA sequencing के हिसाब से कोई भी वायरस अटैक करता है, and 8 to 10% से ज़्यादा लोगों में वो HLA sequencing common हो ही नहीं सकती. It's not possible. So you would probably have seen at the time of COVID, there is a particular family where COVID attacks and everybody with that DNA gets impacted. And then there is a family where COVID attacks and nobody is impacted. Okay. Mental health, on the other hand, is neither a virus, nor a bacteria, nor a fungus. Okay. It is a universal phenomenon. I don't want to talk about depression in dogs. No, that's a little beyond the scope of what I do. But mental wellness in that sense is universal. Every human, again, I don't care how rich you are, I don't care how learned you are, I don't care how progressed you are, I don't care, where you are. Devoid of your location, your economic status, your social status, and every other parameter that you could assign to an individual. Mental health issues impact everybody. Now, they were always there. What has happened over the last some time is they have been significantly worsened. I call it the 4C impact. 4C, number one, contagion. Contagion matlab diseases, infectious diseases. So COVID is actually what triggered this and completely took it to a different level. On one side, contagion means fear of contracting an infectious disease. Okay. On the second side, contagion also, results. So the impact of that infectious disease, which is isolation, lockdowns, increased amount of stress for everything. That is what I call as the impact of contagion. The second, conflict. Conflict essentially on one level, fear of wars, fear of conflicts, fear of whatever, larger scale events that may happen. Okay. We are right now sitting I don't want to say on the verge of, but you know, we are sitting reasonably close to a nuclear conflict if we really look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? And for a lot of people that causes a huge amount of stress. Conflict in that sense essentially is conflict that we face almost every day in our lives, everywhere in our life. The third C that I look at is conformity. Conformity essentially is your need to match up to expectations of others, and more importantly, your need to match up with expectation of yourself. The essential aspect of conformity which makes it complicated is the requirements of people from you, and the requirements of you from you, and the requirements from different people are all different. I remember many years back, I was just joking around with my friend, talking about 1998, the 20th century. Sitting with a friend, we were just joking around, we were just a bunch of friends sitting, and we asked him, what do you want in life? He said, happiness and peace of mind. And I jokingly looked at him and I said, but that's not possible. He said, I said, there are talks with each other. He said, how? He said, assume you go home tomorrow and you want to listen to your music. Your brother doesn't. Now you choose. Either you be happy, listen to music, or you have peace of mind. Your brother is not unhappy. It's always a doubt. Anyway, but yeah, conformity, and it governs so much of our life. We keep struggling with, are we able to match our expectations from ourselves, and are we able to match our expectations from others? Next, last, definitely not the least, and this is a wonderful time to talk about this, climate change. On one side, climate change means what's happening in Delhi right now.
Yes.
The fear of extreme events. However you slice and dice it, extreme events have started increasing in intensity. I'm not saying increasing in frequency. Even if I say they haven't increased in frequency, दिल्ली में फ्लड आता है हर 7-8 साल में आता है, कोई पहली बार ही नहीं आया, right? Everybody has seen that in their life. There are people that I meet that haven't seen flood. They say, no, दिल्ली में तो कभी नहीं आता. I say, क्या बोल रहे हो? हर 5-7 साल में आता है, और अभी भी ऐसा ही है. Last I think was 2018.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. Previous was 2011. 2010.
16.
18-16 का खत्म नहीं आया. 13 में था ऐसा. So every 5 to 8 years, Delhi gets flooded. The challenge is it's increasing in intensity, right? And it's not just Delhi; it's across the globe. पिछले साल पाकिस्तान में आया था. पिछले साल टर्की और सीरिया के अंदर अर्थक्वेक आया था. पिछले साल ऑस्ट्रेलिया के अंदर वाइल्ड फायर्स हुए थे. अगेन वाइल्ड फायर्स ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हर साल होते हैं. कनाडा में, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, even in portions of Western Europe, even in portions of US, wildfires तो हर साल होते हैं. The problem is the intensity of wildfires have significantly increased. पहले वो इतने से एरिया में 2 दिन, 4 दिन, 10 दिन होते थे. अब वो इतने बड़े एरिया में 1 महीना होते हैं. So the intensity has increased. Same with floods, same with earthquakes, same with hurricanes, same with typhoon, same with everything else that goes on. So that's what we call about as climate change. And nuclear families, digital dominance, and the changing lifestyles around everything means they get personal. So we all agree that in some ways mental health issues have, or the reasons for mental health issues have expanded over a period of time. We also agree that most portions of our life we work on mental health. करते हैं ना? Every decision making, every action somewhere is driven by our mental health. I'm not saying that's the only thing that we think about. The problem is while we do that, we are missing something. And what we call that is we are missing the vocabulary, the tools, and the framework. तो ना तो हमारे पास में हमारे रोज के एक्शंस को देख के उनको एनालाइज, उनको उनसे मेंटल हेल्थ सपोर्ट लेने की भाषा है। आज से पहले तो किसी ने आपको नहीं बोला था ना दिन में 16 घंटे बैठ के मेंटल हेल्थ करते हो। दैट्स अ न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट, राइट? सम पीपल डोंट इवन अग्री विद दैट. Some people can't even, be present in that. You have to, and I'm not talking about you. I face this every day. I say this, and most people will go, "Huh." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, number one, you don't have the language, the vocabulary for it, bhasha. Number two, you don't have tools to take care of your mental health. As important as it may be. And work-life balance is the manifestation, is not the problem. Work-life balance is the manifestation of mental health. It's not the problem. So you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the tools, and you don't have a framework. तो हम कहते हैं भाषा औजार ढांचा. Vocabulary, tools, framework. If you get empowered with the vocabulary, with the tools, and with the framework to get value, to get mental health support, let me assure you, a lot of your problems by themselves go away. आज होता क्या है? We all go through whatever kind of stress. Some of us have breakdowns, some of us have burnouts. Whether it is small kids, whether it is reasonably adult people, right? All sorts of people again. It's devoid of gender, age, caste, economic prosperity, social prosperity, or whatever else. All of us have that.
Yeah.
Anybody can, at any given point of time. Usually होता क्या है, किसी को प्रॉब्लम होती है, उसको सबसे पहले उठा के लेके जाते हैं साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास. The first thing that the psychiatrist does is gives you an antidepressant pill. Very effective. It's very effective. It takes care of you feeling low. Okay? It introduces interesting chemicals and interesting hormones in your body, and it takes care of you feeling depressed. एक महीना होता है, you taking this medicine, and you start having some side effects. Antidepressant drug has side effects, and then you go back to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist adds another pill to you. Okay, antidepressant drug लेते रहो, but then for these side effects take this particular medicine also. Again, reasonably effective. 3 months down, hooked for life. Literally, 3 months down, hooked for life. Imagine we do that with our 7-year, 8-year, 10-year, 12-year, 14-year, 15-year, 16-year, and people of all ages. Let me assure you, if you are empowered with this, with the vocabulary, the tools, the framework. Vocabulary तो आपने already शुरू कर दिया. I can assure you, most of you will go back over the next few days, look at what you are doing, and start evaluating it in the context of how that is impacting or taking care of or you're involving your mental health. I can assure you. Some of you may even sit in this room and say, ये workshop क्यों कर रहा हूँ? Is it helping with the mental health or not? No, jokes aside, but I can assure you, you have already started having the vocabulary conversation. And then the next part is, how do you get tools and how do you get a framework around it? Now, before I talk about that, there is another extremely important part of mental health that I must mention. Mental health, unlike physical health, mental health has no curing pattern. Physical health बड़ा clear होता है. कोविड है, okay? किसी को कोविड हुआ, बुखार है, डोलो 50 खाओ, इतने दिन तक खाओ. ठीक नहीं हुआ तो रेमडेसिविर पे जाओ. ठीक नहीं हुआ तो टेसिलोजुमैब लगाओ. ऑक्सीजन प्रॉब्लम होगा, कॉन्सेंट्रेटर लो. There is a fixed path, right? You measure biomarkers, and based on the measured biomarkers, you decide on the curative phenomena for whatever you are. And I'm not just talking COVID, I'm talking almost every disease that you would go to. Mental health doesn't work like that. The challenge is, what we have done, on one side we have said mental health works as this, go to a psychiatrist and take a medicine. On the other side, we say mental health works as this meditation. On the third side, we say mental health works as this spiritual, religious kind of belief-based intervention. The reality is for every individual. Okay, so I call it, there are 8 billion ways in which mental health can be solved. And 8 billion only because our human population right now is 8 billion. When we go to 10 billion, we'll probably have 10 billion ways to solve mental health. And that's really what we are trying to bridge. Okay. So as Soul Wellness, when we started working on this mission, we started with a few basic phenomena for us. Number one, we said mental health is a universal human right. Okay. I used to call it the basic fundamental right, but then I saw that this year, World Mental Health Day has the theme of universal human right.
Yeah.
So I just, so we changed our terminology. Instead of saying basic human right, fundamental right, we started calling it universal human right. But the meaning is the same. We said it's a universal human right, which means devoid of where you are, devoid of how you are, devoid of how affordable it is for you. It has to be available for you. So we said mental health support, and this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to make mental health accepted, 24/7 available, affordable, and personalized for everybody. Okay? So when I talk about Soul Wellness, we as a platform are available for you for free. I'll talk about why you should use that. So let me actually start with that first. So what we did was, you get the vocabulary, now comes the tools and the framework. So we created a mobile app platform where we said you get support in the form of 3 kinds of solutions. The first solution is self-help tools. So self-help tools are tools that you can use by yourself. Okay? Tools that you interact with the platform and nobody else. It consists of self-assessment, which means you can take up a test, screen yourself for a test and determine, do you have ADHD? Determine, do you have social anxiety issues? Determine if you have anger issues, determine if you have insomnia issues, or various other kinds of tests. And these are, by the way, industry standardized tests. It's not a test that I have created. These are industry standardized tests. So you can screen yourself for that, self-assessment. Again, I'm not saying this is medical diagnostics, this is self-assessment. Sorry.
Is it good to assess someone by need, or somebody should move to expert service or advice?
It is good to self-assess.
Is it good? I mean, if we take अगर हमें कोई बीमारी, and मैं अभी फिजिकल की बात करता हूँ, जब हम सेल्फ असेस करते हैं या अपने से डायग्नोस करते हैं, तो it is considered it is risky.
I'm not saying diagnosis. I said this is not diagnostic. This is not medical diagnosis. मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ, आपको फील करना या थर्मोमीटर यूज करो. I'm not saying that gives you the answer that tells you whether it is typhoid or influenza or dengue or chikungunya or COVID or what. I'm not saying that.
But so who is telling कि आप now thermometer use कर लो? So is it the expert or that app is going to tell?
वो आप decide करोगे ना. See, you may be somebody that gets uncomfortable in social situations. So you want to measure yourself for social anxiety. You may be somebody who yourself or your kid or somebody in your family is fidgety, has concentration issues, gets aggressive at times. You want to diagnose that.
I just wanted to know whether is it good to go with the self-assessment, or somebody should directly be consult to the expert?
You can directly consult if you so choose to.
I mean, so these self-help tool is not risky.
No. These are simple questionnaires.
Okay, questionnaires.
These are simple questions.
On the
You
basis of
answer.
that answer.
Based on that, it gives you your analysis. I usually say, put yourself in a red, yellow, green marker.
Yeah.
Okay, green meaning no problem. Red meaning absolute intervention required. Yellow meaning I don't know. In cases of red and yellow, go for further expert interventions. But self-help essentially means it gives you a mechanism to get support for yourself right away. Then there is a mood tracker that we have within that. So you can track your mood on a regular basis, and then you can go back and look at the history. So it tells you which days of the month or the year were you happy and which days were you unhappy. Now if you are able to determine that, you can essentially get a lot about your life. So you would be able to see, this is one incident that was happening at that point of time, so I was feeling good, or this is one incident that was happening for which I was feeling bad. And what the psychologists are saying now is, if I have this kind of data for people that go through regular psychology services, okay, if I have this data between sessions, it's very valuable for me. So it gives you an insight about yourself. Then for a lot of people, they can do nothing unless they are able to set up a goal or a milestone. So we've created an environment where you can set up a goal for yourself. So self-help tools that you are able to use by yourself with the platform. Number 2, community support tools. Tools that you use in conjunction with people at large. It could be journaling. So journaling is almost like Instagram. Okay? The difference is, on Instagram, most people share the food that they don't wear, the clothes that they don't, the food that they don't eat, the clothes that they don't wear, the places that they don't go to, the people that they don't meet. Basically the life that they don't have. Here, because it is a committed mental health space, people who tend to have much more, closer conversation, much more real life conversations about mental health. And of course, we will do reasonable amount of moderation and all to ensure that it is kept up. So that's one key distinction that we make from an Instagram kind of a platform. Second, we provide full anonymity as an option, which means at any given point of time, when you are sharing something, you can decide whether you want to post it as yourself or you want to post it anonymously. Okay? And it is extremely important when you are talking mental health. For a lot of people, they don't want to talk about their personal life as themselves. There are all sorts of good, bad, ugly thoughts that you have. There are all sorts of good, bad, ugly situations that you go through in life. There are all sorts of good, bad, ugly experiences you have. You may or may not be comfortable sharing them as yourself. So we provide anonymity as an option. And then with journaling, what we also provide is support groups. Support groups essentially mean a group of people combined around a specific issue. For example, we have a support group for stress. We have a support group for parenting issues. We have a support group for adolescent issues. We have a support group for LGBTQ. We have a support group for moms. We have a support group for this, that, and the other. So various different support groups across various different issues. Third, last, and of course there is a social networking concept within that we call as Soul Buddy. So you can connect with people across and share ideas and everything. Third, and extremely important, though for me it's the last portion of this, is what we call as expert intervention. Now expert intervention can be number 1, clinical. Clinical meaning psychiatrist, psychotherapist, psychologist, counselor. Okay, I call it Western. Clinical intervention can be allied therapy. I call it Eastern, for the most part. Of course, there are overlaps, but Eastern. It could be yoga or meditation or art or music or dance or whatever your other hobbies are. It could even be naturopathy. It could be spiritual or religious. It could be Reiki or some kind of a healing. It could be anything. And then, of course, there are different kinds of, it is available at an individual level or it is available as a group. Then what we have also done is, we have created an area that we call as Talk Now. Talk Now essentially means, if you are overwhelmed with emotions right now, go to the app, click on Talk Now, and you are connected to a counselor. And you can chat with somebody right away. outside of the clinical intervention and the light therapies, all the tools on the platform are available to a user for free, to a consumer.
Apart from what?
Apart from those expert services.
Okay.
So where I have to get an expert to provide your services, it is paid. Top now is free.
Okay.
Okay. But outside of that, everything is free. So, and again, this goes to the theme that I was talking about earlier. We think mental health needs to be a universal human right. So everybody has access to it. What we have done is, one, of course you buy services, you pay for the service. Second, we provide subscriptions to organizations. And what that subscription does is, one, of course, it provides the platform. Two, we add a whole bunch of services within that. Three, and even more important than that, we provide individual and organizational dashboards and reporting. That's not available to consumers, of course. We provide individual and organizational dashboards and reporting so that the individual is able to measure themselves more individually or in the context of the team or the organization that they belong to. And similarly, the organization can have a much broader view of people within that. And I'm saying this while having complete respect for everybody's data privacy and security. So we never go to organization and say this person did this. We say in your organization of 50 people, 100 people, 1000 people, 20,000 people, X number of people took counseling in this particular time frame. Y number of people did talk now or did this or did this. These many people took screening self-assessment, which means earlier in screening self-assessment the ratings were here and now the ratings are here, or whatever other metrics and data that can be garnered. We provide organizations with an ability to be able to measure the mental health of their organizations in a more concrete manner. But it is available today, and our commitment to the community is it is available today and it will be available forever as free for the consumer. That's, as I said, that's where we started off, that it has to be a universal human right. Okay, so that's what we are. Okay, so important, extremely important for you is first to look at whatever you do in your life and remember and see that more than 16 hours a day, everything that you do, every action, every decision making is your mental health. And start aligning yourself more closely to that. I can tell you, I can assure you it will happen. Start being much more, I don't want to use the word empathy, but let me just use the word aware. Start being much more aware to whatever is going on around you with people around you. Because mental health is not just something that you face, you suffer with, the problems you have, but it is also everywhere else. And an extremely important part of mental health is it is more contagious than COVID, or as contagious as COVID. If one person is not feeling good in the team, chances are they will pull others down. If one person is feeling extremely happy, chances are they will pull others up with them. Second most important thing. Third, empower yourself with the tools and the solutions. As I said, you can choose to use this, or you can choose to figure out, okay, there is this other mechanism that works better for me, so I will use that particular mechanism. But empower yourself with tools and solutions. While you are doing that, remember, self-care is essential and necessary. There is no replacement. What I usually say is, assuming there is a student who is looking at increasing their grades in a particular subject by 5%. Assuming somebody says, if the student spends X number of hours, the student will be able to increase their grades in this one subject by 5%. My assertion is, spend that X number of hours on your mental health and you will be able to increase your grades in all subjects by 5%. Not just that, spend that X number of hours on your mental health, and you will be able to increase your grades in all subjects and your performance in all areas of your life by 5%. That's really the importance of mental health. Think about the days that you are productive and the days that you are not. I can bet for most people, the difference between what they are able to do is at least a 2x. In some people it is 10x, but it is at least a 2x. So I'm not talking 5%. You yourself on an everyday basis go through this. On one day you are productive, on one day you are not, and the difference is 100%, at least 100%. कुछ लोगों में तो it is 1000%. So self-care is that important. It's not just grossly how do I feel good about myself and how do I go do shopping for myself, or how do I do beauty makeup for myself, or how do I buy something for myself. It's much more intricate than that. So self-care, specifically self-care that goes out and aligns with your mental health, is an extremely important portion of your life. And of course, abhi to I'm talking goody, right? Then there are all the other challenges that you go through in your life, the burnouts, the basic level issues, inability to perform, feeling lonely or feeling extremely sad about themselves, all of the other aspects. It is extremely important for you to have the vocabulary, the tools and the framework. So let me stop and take questions.
I have questions.
And I do also understand that it is extremely difficult to ask questions around mental health in an open environment. So if you have to ask, you can say, my friend goes through this problem, and that's a good way to start. But no, whatever your challenges, whatever your issues, if there is some clarification, something that you want to know now, or you can come on the platform and ask your questions from a counselor, or just simply I'm available to answer anything now or at a later time. So does anybody have any questions, any clarifications, anything they want to know in your families and all? Somebody that is, I'm not joking, like just say it like that, but people in your families or other places facing certain mental health challenges or issues, and you think there is something that you want to know.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is, I just wanted to know about, you guys have cured or I think cure is a different kind of. Do you have solution for procrastination kind of issues? Okay. And second, one of my niece is suffering from some kind of mental health issue. And so what kind of platform do you suggest? Should I go direct to expert, or should I go to that vocabulary and framework?
See, depending on the age and the issue.
Age is 12.
12. And the specific issue?
Specific issue is hyperactive.
Okay.
Hyperactive in that manner, can't be able to
hyperactive,
focus.
aggressive, not able to focus.
Yeah. I mean, for every one of us, it is not that extreme level of thing, but we just wanted to see something.
Yeah. So the first thing that you should do is maybe you can start with the platform. Take a screening and assessment test. In fact, my ADHD, it's most probably there is a strong possibility that your niece has some shade of ADHD. Again, all of these things, I'll tell you, all of these things, all mental health issues now are measured on a spectrum. Okay? पहले ना हम बोलते थे ये है कि ये नहीं है. Now it is all on a spectrum. Okay? So ADHD essentially is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. By itself, it means attention का deficit है, hyperactivity का disorder है. Okay? So in what you are saying, there is a strong possibility. I'm not suggesting कि ऐसा surely है. the first thing that you should do is go to the platform, and there is a test for ADHD.
Because he just talked to a person, my brother, his father, and
मेरा phone है उसका.
तो कुछ
Maybe you can just open the app and like
कुछ homeopathy kind of medicine it is advised, which I personally don't want to just really start.
So
that is.
I have heard of many people, okay, that have taken homeopathy help in ADHD and have gotten good results. So I won't tell you that it doesn't happen. Of course, you know, there is lot that goes.
See, I just wanted to get some different approach, which is beyond to this medication.
सबसे पहले ना आपको क्या करना चाहिए? So मैं आपको steps बताता हूँ.
बताओ.
What you should. First, go to the platform, take the test for ADHD. ठीक है? Simple set of questions हैं, and it will ask you, does your child? हमारा ADHD का जो अभी जो टेस्ट है ADHD का, वो टेस्ट इस समय पर is meant only for parents and guardians and siblings to fill. It's not meant for the child to fill.
अच्छा.
Okay? और अभी हमने adult ADHD लाइव ही नहीं किया है as a test. Okay? So fill the test. उससे आपको again red, yellow, green level पे, broad level पे पता चल जाएगा where do you stand. Okay? Second thing you should do is set up a session with a counselor. A psychologist, not a
You
psychiatrist.
guys have
Yeah, we have nearly 250 counselors, psychologists and psychiatrists in our setup. Okay, on the app, so it's a marketplace for that. So there are more than 250 psychologists, psychiatrists and counselors that we have available there. You should not go to a psychiatrist. You should first go to a psychologist. And I'm only saying that. It's not that it's not a psychiatric problem, it's only a psychology problem. The problem is, in our country, the moment you go to a doctor, what will the doctor do? How does the doctor earn money? Achha, let me ask a question. Have you ever gone to a doctor and given money for consulting without the doctor giving you a medicine?
No, it's not about the consulting. It's about advising treatment that is not required.
मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ. Doctors in our country are very clear, और ये reality है. हम यहाँ बैठ के ना कितना भी ज्ञान दे दें, ये reality है. If a doctor doesn't give you medicine, पैसे किस चीज़ के लिए यार, दवाई तो दिया नहीं. It's a reality of our life. So, moment you go to a psychiatrist, okay, it's a standard in our country, 100% true. In most other parts of the world also, it may be reasonably true. The psychiatrist will treat it in the line of chemical imbalance or biological issue. While it may simply be something that requires counseling and that requires structured therapy, not a medicine. In fact, you want more help with that. There is a ADHD child ka mother. She can probably tell you a lot more details, and she has given medicine to her son for a reasonable amount of time.
No medicine. I took him to a psychologist, and then the major thing what you need to do is you need to change the environment. So when you say the environment, you need to channelize his or her energy more. So you need to put him in some particular hobby which he or she likes. Maybe some cooking, maybe some dancing, maybe some art therapy, something like that. Maybe some art classes or something like that. What will happen is when that particular child will have will actually channelize his or her energy in these particular areas, their mind will get little bit stimulated and they will get little bit stable. Apart from that, what the therapist will do, they will majorly do one-on-one counseling with the child, and then the second would be a group therapy. So when you see group therapy, they will not treat the child, but they will module the behavior of the child, how they are interacting with other children, how they are managing. Yeah, so they will teach them, okay, if you are in a line, if you have to wait, how do you have to do that? So there are a lot of similar things they will do, and that's the right way to do. I don't think medicine and other things, if it is at an aggressive level, then definitely you have to take medication. However, if it's not on that particular level, then along with the counselors, and the most important thing is you need to also include the school. Because if you will not include the school, there are a lot of trigger points of such childs which
We
get
just
triggered.
had included, we just had included.
Yes.
अब स्कूल के अंदर मैं आपको इशू बताता हूँ. I actually have been doing teacher sensitization programs as well. स्कूल में इशू क्या होता है? एक ADHD बच्चा है, okay, या एक autistic बच्चा है. Now these kids, there are things that they would like, there are things that they won't like, because they have that extreme behavior. The things that they like, they are very good at. The things that they don't like, they are terrible at. So there is a teacher in school who treats them like they are God's gift to earth. And then there is a teacher in school that treats them differently and very differently and whatever. There is no consistency. For such situations, it is extremely important to develop what is called as coping mechanisms. Okay. Again, जैसा मैंने पहले बोला ना, there is no question of nobody can ever give you any solution that says you won't be sad, you won't be stressed, you won't be lonely. वो तो नहीं होने वाला, right? What anybody can give you is, number one, how do you manage? What do you do when that happens? Number two, coping mechanisms. Okay? So intensity कम करेंगे, coping mechanism. This is what the counselors or the therapists will help you with. In such cases, depending on, again, I don't know the exact situation, how good bad it is, but depending on the situation, a therapist may be able to significantly alter behavior. There is definitely a possibility.
Not the therapist, actually, a behavior therapist.
A behavior therapist.
Yeah, that is what is required in ADHD.
Now, there is definitely a possibility that the behavior is, or the symptoms or the trigger points are so extreme that they need a medicine.
Yes.
I'm not, मैं किसी भी हिसाब से, let me be very clear, I am not against medicine. ठीक है ना? I am a diabetes patient. And the way I live my life is, I eat everything, I drink everything, I do everything, and then I take a medicine at the end of the day. मेरे को कोई medicine से तकलीफ नहीं है. All I'm saying is, don't take unnecessary medicine, specifically in areas that make you medicine dependent. And psychiatry is one of that. It will make you medicine dependent if it is not taken correctly. So that is why I always tell people, unless you have such an extreme problem, मतलब कोई ऐसा ना, कोई सुसाइडल है, तो भाई जब तक तुम साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास ले जाके 2 सेशन कराओगे, वो तो पता नहीं will be there or not. So take them to a psychiatrist first, let them get some medicine, let them whatever, learn to cope. जैसे a friend of mine recently developed high blood pressure. उसका blood pressure था 170, and he said I will manage it through exercise, this that. यार एक काम कर, तू ना 15 दिन दवाई लेके इसको कम एटलीस्ट मैनेज कर ले, और साथ साथ हम ना फिजिकल एक्टिविटी शुरू कर, एंड देन you only manage on your physical activity. But then you have to be, in that case it is feasible, and you still have to be extremely rigid about how you manage it. तो वो doable है. You may, depending on the extremity of the situation, you may still need to go for a medicine, but the right point for you will, number one, take a self-assessment to see, if it is actually ADHD or something else. Then set up some time with a psychologist, and then you'll probably be sent to a behavior therapist, and individual session, group sessions, and
for starting, you can just, along with the parents, just note what are his or her trigger points. Once you are aware of his or her trigger points, you would be able to manage the child very seamlessly at home and other places also.
In fact, मैं स्कूल में टीचर्स को बोलता हूँ for every class, because schools में तो requirement है, neurodiversity is a requirement in schools now. So you will have all sorts of students, autistic and ADHD and LD and everything. मैं schools में टीचर्स को हमेशा जब भी बात करता हूँ बोलता हूँ, you should sit together as a class, basically all the teachers of that particular class, and you should develop consistent behavior for these children with special needs. If you develop that consistent behavior, and it's है बहुत सारा प्रॉब्लम है. I was at a GD Goenka school, and a teacher said, "Sir, बताओ मैं क्या करूँ? There is this kid, he went to this music class. The music teacher did not let him play guitar. Because other people were playing. He came to the class and he said, मैं तो पढ़ने नहीं दूँगा. मेरे को गिटार नहीं मिला, मैं पढ़ने नहीं दूँगा." She said, "What will you do?" Right? And then all different kinds of examples, good and bad. So you need to ensure the kid gets consistent behavior, and you have some kind of a approach built around it. Any other questions, anybody? Anything that you would like to know? So, so at a later point also, if you need something, you can come to Soul Wellness, our social handles. You can, connect with me personally and ask. Or the best way is essentially download the platform and ask your questions on the platform.
Start with Solh.
We started it 2 years back. We currently have nearly 75,000 users.
Yeah.
Nearly 75,000 users, and growing reasonably well.
Najmul, do you have any question? I think you should have.
Okay, so thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you. Thank you.